back talking some more of the Wheel of Time this week with episode 7. It's the last episode for the finale and pieces are finally coming into place as everyone in the group besides Matt decides to go on the journey to the Eye of the World to take on the Dark One. Once again, we surprisingly have another cold open to the show, but I have to say this is probably one of the most badass cold openings you could have for a series. What an awesome way to kick off the show, seeing this mysterious pregnant woman facing off against all these various different soldiers. I think it was all really well choreographed. It was a really well executed action scene that I wasn't expecting going into the episode seeing this, so it was a nice surprise. It does take a bit for the episode to explain why we had that opening scene, but I do think it is well worth it when we do find out towards the end of the episode. As we move forward with the journey, everyone is still pretty upset about the fact that Matt was left behind. Kind of a side tangent, but it does pertain to Matt. I had absolutely no idea between these last two episodes that the character of Matt is going to be recast with a new actor next season, so I don't know if that plays into why he's going to potentially be missing in these last two episodes and he's going to be someone completely new in season 2, but it was something that I didn't know until just very recently because I've tried to avoid looking up Wheel of Time stuff just in case there are spoilers. Despite this part of the episode not being the most exciting location to navigate through, it does have some good tension to it. I have commended this show a lot when it comes to production design and all that stuff, but this portion of the episode is probably where it feels the most cheap, unfortunately. I hate saying that and harping on things that are negative in the show, but it is something that's distractingly noticeable throughout this entire segment. Things do get a lot more exciting though when a Trolloc appears out of nowhere and attacks them, and then they're being chased by the Black Wind. The Black Wind is actually pretty interesting, even if we don't really delve into it all that much because it's just in this one scene, because it tells people terrible things. Moiraine tells them not to listen to those terrible things. Even though Moiraine told them not to listen to those terrible things, though, I made sure I listened to all of them, and it kind of played back into something we see later on in the episode when we find out stuff about Rand. And Nynaeve is probably one of my favorite characters out of the group, and she once again shows that she's the real MVP in this segment, taking on the Black Wind and channeling this awesome shield as Moiraine gets them out of there to their next destination, this Fortress Valdara. At least I believe that's how you say it. I'm not really great with pronunciations when it comes to fantasy. I love the genre, but pronunciations is pretty difficult a lot of the time. We don't really get to know too much about the people here, which was kind of a bummer because they seem really cool in the few scenes that they did have, but one of the big surprises of all this, mysterious looking person is following them from afar. I almost thought it was Matt at first, but it's not confirmed or anything. We did see flashes of a person in the background when they're in the waves, but we don't really address that in this episode other than Moiraine wants to send the Red Aja after him, which could lead to some really exciting things in the future. I don't know if we're going to get that in season 1, but that could be really cool for season 2. Something that I really appreciate about this episode is the fact that we have the group finally all together having conversations with one another, because that's something that's been really lacking in these episodes, is because they've always been separated into smaller groups. Now we're finally all back together and we can finally have conversations, I guess outside of Matt, of course. It was great to see all of them get that development after so long, even if inevitably it unearths some old conflicts among them when discussing if it's the right thing to continue moving forward, because Moiraine kind of mentions finally that they're all going to die if they aren't the Dragon Reborn when we get to our destination, because I do think it's totally understandable. If I was put into this situation myself, I'd be a little bit apprehensive going forward with the mission. When it pertains to romance in the Wheel of Time, it seems like we've kind of been off and on throughout the series. We get a little bit more of Rand and Egwene in this episode. The relationship has been kind of blah, but I do think that is because of the fact they really haven't had a lot of time on screen together to really kind of develop their relationship. I have no real reason to dislike the relationship or anything, so I do think it was cute when they did have a few more romantic moments in this episode, especially when they're talking about the fact that Rand and Egwene are going to have a Ward or Aes Sedai kind of relationship if they go to the White Tower, but I don't think that's going to happen, especially with what happens at the end of the episode. But it was really Nynaeve and Lan that took the next step in their spicy romantic tension in this episode. There was some romantic tension there a couple episodes back as Nynaeve kind of warmed up to him, but they definitely hit their stride in this episode, with Nynaeve following Lan and bringing her in to have this meal, and then later on she goes back to his quarters and they hook up finally. It's good for them. I like both of these characters a lot in the show, so I'm rooting for them. They're one of the spicy romances I'm going to continue to root for as long as the show goes on, however long this romance goes on for. Also, when it comes to this scene, I really like that we got a lot more backstory about Lan after they have this conversation. It is brief. We don't get a whole lot of depth in that backstory, but it kind of just opens up the door to learn more about Lan as the series goes on, because we haven't really gotten a whole lot of details about him yet. One thing that's been made really clear to me as I've talked about the show each and every week with you guys in the comments section, which is, by the way, something I really enjoy, so make sure you do share your comments down below because I do try to respond to all of them, is that there's really not a lot of mystery around who is the Dragon Reborn in the novels. That's something that they've really done a lot more so in the series so far, but we do finally get some answers when it comes to that, which could satisfy everyone, whether it be you're a fan of the books or the fans of the show going in new like I have, with us now finding out that Rand is actually the Dragon Reborn. So that's an interesting choice. It wasn't my first choice by any means, but he's probably in the top 3 as far as who I think could be the Dragon Reborn. We go back to that flashback from the beginning of the episode, showing that the soldier that was standing above his mom was Tam, who took him to raise when the woman passed away, and sort of giving us this kind of overview recap of all the things that we've seen with Rand throughout the episode, and it kind of makes it more sense why he would be the Dragon Reborn. After we find out the big reveal reveal, though, Rand goes and tells Moraine that he's the Dragon Reborn and everybody is just left behind. As both Rand and Moraine set off to go through the Blight to the Eye of the World alone, so they're going to leave everybody behind and take on the Dark One. Looks like we're setting up for a big crazy finale next week with them facing off against the Dark One. I don't know, I really wanted to like this episode a whole lot more, but it was a whole lot of setup here. Not as much exciting moments in this episode, but it was still a pretty good episode in my eyes. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What do you think of episode 7 of A Wheel of Time? Did you like the episode, not like the episode? Are you looking forward to the finale next week? It feels like this show went by pretty quick for me, at least. It's been a lot of fun talking about with you guys, though. So make sure you share all your thoughts down below. Explore the funnest time in the conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out my reviews every week of The Wheel of Time. Make sure to leave a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you update my movie reactions, unboxings, and more. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.